What is up, everybody? So a lot of people know that I collect cameras over the years. I've shown pictures of them. People have seen the wall or my crates in my office full of cameras. So people will offer me cameras sometimes. Like my dad has this old box of cameras they don't want, or something along those lines. This was in my basement. Once in a while there's something decent in there. Usually it's a Minolta XG1 though. Once in a while there's a good lens in the bottom and stuff like that. My buddy Dave, who I've known forever and who works with me here sometimes, said, some of my mom's friends has these cameras. They just want them to go to a good home. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take them. I'll see what they look like. He brought me this suitcase, this weird looking suitcase, and I opened it up. And this was not your normal camera lot. This was a Nikon F3, a Nikon F2, and a Nikon FM with multiple lenses. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow. And he said the guy just wanted him to go to a good home. He didn't want him to get like thrown away or junked or something like that. And I'm like, man, who is gonna junk a Nikon F3? And I know a lot of people love the F2 and stuff like that. Having an F3, I don't really have the desire to shoot an F2. I have a number of them, and I'm sure I will at some point, though. I was also super excited because I had an F3 that died, and it was my favorite camera, my favorite manual focus film camera. I think it's the best of all time. I know there's a ton of hype going on around the F4 right now. That's a big, ugly beast in my mind. And I know it has some downsides. I like the simplicity of the F3, and the only thing I don't like about it is probably that weird hot shoe position, which I don't think anyone really likes. But anyways, as I was looking into this F3, it had a focus screen that was kind of cool because it had a grid and a circle. It didn't have any what would you call it, focus indicator type thing. So I always really like split prism focusing. I think that's what I got used to with my old Minoltas, and they've all had it. So what I went ahead and did was I took the old Nikon that didn't work and I pulled its focusing screen out and put that into the new one that did work. It's actually pretty simple. I was trying to be pretty careful. You can see the white gloves and all that, but even that wasn't really necessary. You definitely don't want to touch the focusing screen. From everything I've read, if you get oil on those, it's very, very hard to remove. There's a couple other focusing screen I have here because this studio that I bought was a Nikon studio. I'm going to look in to see what the other screens have. There's something like 16. I'll show you I have the manual here, how many there really are. I saw that there is one with a split prism and the grid, and I would kind of like that a lot. One of the things with me is I don't know what it is. I'm never like great at holding the camera totally straight, and I always try to. With my mirrorless cameras, I always have the level on in there. And even in the DSLR days when you could have the focusing points show you if it was level or not, I always use that. And I don't think there's, just a side note, I don't think there's anything cool or creative about holding a camera sideways. I don't know what that is. I mean, sure, if you're taking a selfie with your friends and that's not straight, no big deal. But if you're taking a photo, I've never seen, there has to be a very intentional reason that you're not holding the camera straight. I always correct lines. I do all that kind of stuff. I like my buildings to look straight. I like the horizon to look straight. I don't get this thing. So I did not put what I've read as a sought after viewfinder, the DA2. That was on my other Nikon. On this one, I wanted to use the normal viewfinder, which I think is the more normal Nikon F3 viewfinder for a while. I do like the DA2, but I used it for a while. I think that Nikon came from a sports shooter. A friend who worked at a private school gave it to me, and it had a 300mm lens on it and that big finder, so I assume it was their sports guy. I'm sure that's why it didn't last. Those cameras are made to be beat up. Everything about the F3 is to be like in the jungle and photographing, and you have to capture that photojournalistic moment. That one probably lived a very long life. I ran 5 or 6 rolls through it maybe, and then it died. So after I did all that, I loaded up the camera with a roll of Fujicolor Press 400 that expired in 2001. Good thing about this film is it came from another photographer, and since I've had it, it's been in the fridge, and he said it was always cared after. I just went out, I shot the roll at box speed in downtown Akron. I've shot a number of rolls of this, I've got a lot of it, and I've always given it an extra stop, and I think even sometimes 2. I know I went out on a foggy morning once and then I gave it a couple extra stops, and it's always looked really good. I mean, it definitely has a slight expired film look, but if you give it that extra speed, it does all right. This time shooting at a box speed and going around, I kind of just wanted to see what it would look like to do it, and I also was basically testing to make sure the F3 was actually fully functional. A couple little experiments I had going on at once. So when I do this, I always recommend, if you're going to try something you haven't tried before, don't go and do an important project. Don't shoot someone's wedding or portraits. I just was riding around downtown Akron with some stuff I needed to do and just took some photos as the sun got low in the sky, and then finished off the roll here in the studio and across the street. I always think that's a smart thing to do. Just take some simple photos. It's not like I want to do nothing, but I still, I don't want to do anything important or like unique, take it on vacation. So after I shot the roll, I took it out to Campus Camera in Kent. I've made a couple videos about heading out there, and so I wanted to get my film developed there as well. Got it developed. It was about a week turnaround time, I think. So got it back here. I did a scan just on the Epson Flatbed in its normal modes, you know, its best optical quality and its all the best settings, but also leaving it on auto exposure and stuff. For some reason, I don't know, I had a beer and the negatives already looked kind of thin. You know, obviously shooting them at box speed, they definitely needed that extra stop or two. I noticed right off the bat. I decided for some reason to cut them up randomly because I knew there was nothing exciting on there, and I just thought like, let's see what this kind of like side-by-side collage impact has. I don't know. And then I also, I guess a second test is to see what the auto settings outside of the manual high quality settings I put on the flatbed scanner. I kind of wanted to see having different frames in there, how it would balance them. And another thing that did is it gave me, I could see what this half of a frame looked like and then this half. And when I would put them together in Photoshop, I could see that, yeah, they were not balanced, and just see how much, you know, adjustment the scanner is doing. A little bit of thinking I was being nifty and creative, as you can see, and a little bit of a test. I know in the future I will actually be locking in the scans and making the settings and not letting the scanner use auto as much. It's just, you could see how much it fluctuates in color casts. You know, I'm giving an old flatbed scanner a really hard job by the underexposed roll, like the thin negatives and all that. But still, I've already done some research and I'm gonna do another batch of test scans before I start doing it for people. But speaking of that, I will be, by the time you see this video, accepting film. I will be doing the black and white here in-house. I will have the color outsourced to a different lab for now, and it'll be very affordable, $5 for the color, $6 for the black and white. Right now, I am doing $5 for the standard scans and $15 for the really high-end scans, but I want to also find a medium level scan, whether that's doing it with the other lab or settings that I use on my scanners here. So I want to have a range of options. The other thing I'm going to do is have sample images on the website. I'm not sure why more labs don't do this, because they'll tell you what the resolution of the scan is, or even if you ask what they scan on, like is it an Aritsu, is it this or that? But I just figure we're all photographers, and what's a better way to know what you're going to get than to look at it. So yes, I will have those up there. I have a roll of black and white loaded up for today in the F3 now that I know it works. So I want to get a roll of black and white run through, developed with the processes I'm going to be using now. I just got out my old negative dryer and all that stuff, which will be cool to get set up again. And then I have a roll of expired, this is like a Giant Eagle Pro Series film, and I have this in my XD11, and I haven't shot the XD11 in a while. Got a cool vintage lens from the SRT era on here. Those will be the next personal projects, but also ways to test everything as I'm going forward. Sitting here in the store, if you're wondering how it's going, I've had a few really interesting customers come in now, and I've got my big film order in. Hopefully by the time you see this video, if you do stop in here, there will be a whole spread of film. I tried to not go too heavy in any one direction. I tried to get a little bit of everything. Kind of viewed it as like an indie record shop. You can't just like have one niche of like punk or some weird prog rock niche from indie, I don't know, whatever. I don't know where I'm going. You know what I mean? You have to have a spread. If there's going to be a bunch of people coming into an indie record store, they all have different tastes. And that's kind of how I feel about the film world, but I'm going to find out. So if something keeps selling out real quick, obviously, that's how I'll learn what to do. A final side note, if you're wondering why this lighting looks so crazy, a Jeep parked right outside my storefront window. I always really like the light in here when it's daytime because it's got a cool bright look combined with my lights, but it's reflecting directly off their windshield. And I moved to get that specifically because you can see the reflections when I kind of go back and forth. So yeah, filming this on the Pocket 3, which is perfect for this kind of stuff. Got the wireless mic right here. Makes it so much easier to make the YouTube shorts and the Instagram reels I've been doing. Because I could flip this screen and then it's shooting vertical. It just bats above its weight class still. It sounds like the DJI Pocket 4 is about to drop. I'm gonna be interested in how well that does, because man, the Pocket 3 has just been selling like hotcakes for years. Will people upgrade? They're gonna have to do something really compelling because this tiny camera does such a good job. Anyways, another all over the place video, but yeah, got more film cameras on the way. Got a video about the scanning processes and my journey because I've been talking about how that was going, and I went in a completely different direction to get those old scanners to work than I was trying before, the dongles and the laptop and all that. So other stuff to talk about down the road. I've rambled on long enough. So Erin's on her way over. I'm gonna bring the 2 cameras out with me and we're gonna go ride bikes. So I will see you in the next one. Thanks as always for watching. Peace.